The Court of New Beginnings. The courtroom of Judge Ebony K. Williams was not merely a place of legal statutes and cold decrees. It was a space defined by a unique fusion of North Carolina soul, Louisiana heritage, West Coast cool, and a sharp New York edge. On the bench sat a woman who believed that the only thing that truly mattered in her sanctuary of justice was how she perceived the truth. To her, equal justice was the heartbeat of the nation, a steady pulse of freedom and integrity that she sought to protect for every person who walked through those doors, whether they were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer. She was the voice for the voiceless, a firm hand guiding the ship of law through the turbulent waters of human emotion. The first case of the day brought a cloud of silent resentment into the room. Nicole Jennings, the plaintiff, stood with the poise of a woman who had recently celebrated a milestone, while her former friend, Asia Franklin, stood as the defendant, wearing a look of guarded hurt. The dispute was over $360, a sum that represented 6 empty chairs at what should have been the happiest day of Nicole's life. Judge Ebony looked at the nameplate on her desk and then at the two women who had once shared a bond forged in their college years. She began by asking Nicole to explain why they were there. Nicole, with a voice that wavered between sadness and frustration, described how her very small and private wedding had been disrupted. She explained that Asia, her college best friend, had begged for 4 additional seats and eventually 5. Nicole had gone out of her way to accommodate the request, adding an entire table setting for 4 people. However, when the day arrived, Asia simply ghosted her, leaving the seats empty and the caterer's bill unpaid. The judge turned her gaze to Asia, questioning how a best friend could miss such a monumental occasion. Asia's defense was rooted in the digital age's most common pitfall, social media. She spoke of nasty blog posts and a bridesmaid who had treated her like the help. There was also a deeper, more painful wound. Asia had served as the maid of honor in Nicole's first wedding 10 years prior, yet for this wedding, she had not even been asked to be a bridesmaid. Instead, Nicole had offered her a role as an usher, a gesture Asia viewed as pure shade. As the evidence was presented, a social media post surfaced. It spoke of brides being guilted into adding guests and expressed a longing for the honeymoon to begin. Nicole admitted she was frustrated when she wrote it, having just called the caterer to extend the guest list under pressure. The history between them was complicated by a divorce involving a man named Ralph, who had been best friends with Nicole's now husband. When Asia and Ralph divorced, the friendship became a casualty of the separation. Asia felt Nicole had taken Ralph's side, while Nicole felt the friendship had simply deteriorated beyond repair. Judge Ebony, acting as much as a mentor as a magistrate, observed that they were retroactively assessing a relationship that no longer existed in its old form. She noted that people often fail to evaluate relationships in real time, holding on to standards from 10 years ago that no longer apply. While the judge acknowledged the lingering love between the two women, she had to rule on the fiscal matter at hand. She found that Asia's request for 6 seats on the very day of the wedding was not a genuine desire to attend, but rather a way to test how far Nicole would go to accommodate her. It was a cycle of guilt and manipulation that had to end. The court ruled in favor of the plaintiff for the full $360. As the two women departed, the air in the courtroom shifted to a different kind of tension. Ricky Edwards, a young man seeking $1,500, stood opposite his ex-girlfriend, Amber Gilbert. Ricky claimed that during a heated argument about the future of their relationship, Amber had pushed him out of her house, causing him to fall and break his $800 glasses and his $700 phone. Ricky explained that they had been dating on and off for 3 years. Amber, who was 5 years his senior, was pushing for a level of commitment he was not ready for. He spoke of needing spiritual growth and financial adjustment. On the night in question, after a few drinks, the conversation about moving in together escalated. Ricky claimed Amber began throwing his belongings and shoved him toward the door, leading to his clumsy fall on the sidewalk. Amber, who owned the home where the incident occurred, told a different story. She admitted she wanted him to move in and was frustrated by his constant excuses. She denied ever touching him, claiming she merely gestured for him to leave and then slammed the door once he was outside. The truth, as it often does, resided in the unblinking eye of technology. A Ring camera video was presented to the court. The footage showed Ricky stumbling and his glasses flying, but it also showed something much more definitive. There was no physical contact between Amber and Ricky, nor did the door strike him. He had simply tripped of his own accord while walking away. Judge Ebony looked at the young man and then at the woman who had hoped for a future with him. She saw a relationship that had reached its natural conclusion. Because there was no evidence of a physical push or a battery, the court could not hold Amber responsible for the broken items. The case was dismissed. In the end, the courtroom was quiet once more. Judge Ebony K. Williams had dispensed more than just rulings. She had provided a mirror for these individuals to see the reality of their lives. Whether it was the cost of a wedding seat or the price of a broken phone, the true lesson was about moving forward with integrity, leaving the ghosts of the past behind, and embracing the freedom of a fresh start.